Can you see my screen, friends?
Yes.
We were talking about the words, and there are two parts: prefect level words and other words. And I wrote the definitions in order to help you, because these are not in the prefect word list. Immutable means never changing, something which never changes. The decision shouldn't be seen as immutable. We can change it. Thereby, we talked about thereby. Thereby means with the result that something else happens. Thereby collocation, thereby verb ing. After thereby we use verb ing. He became a citizen in 1978, thereby gaining the right to vote. Dolayısıyla oy verme hakkını kazandı anlamında. Okay. Kadriye. Kadriye'nin de okay, don't worry. Especially in the afternoon. I think lots of people use the internet in the afternoon. Friends, now could you please complete the sentences using the correct words? If you want, you can have a look at my notes. Okay. You will do this part, arkadaşlar. 24. Let me write it. And could you please use the correct words to complete these sentences? Don't waste your time. These are the definitions. Please complete the sentences.
İçin, su için, sağlıklı yaşam için, yok edip kirletmeyin, temiz bir dünya için.
Read the sentences. Let's check the answers very quickly. Hadi Furkan, let's start with you. Number one. Furkan. Furkan. Then Ezgi will continue.
Can I see the words?
Didn't you do the exercise?
No.
Yeah, arkadaş, number one, manipulate, friends. We can possibly manipulate the way the body works so that it can reverse the damage accumulating in the human body due to aging. Thank you. Ezgi, second one.
Some scientists and people don't believe in the possibility of stopping the aging process, which causes pessimism regarding the feasibility and desirability of ceasing of the aging process. For this reason, Audrey de Grey gives this.
Yes, feasibility and desirability. It is a very expensive process, by the way. Thank you, Ezgi. Hadi Kadriye, 3.
What was manipulate? Okay.
Manipulate. Manipulate the way body works. We can manipulate the way body works. Okay. Hadi Kadriye, 3.
Foundation is going about.
Synonym for fight.
Fight.
Fighting. Combating. But the verb form and combating is going about combating aging or developing medicine that will combat aging. Okay. Combating. Thank you. Kadriye and booming for. Kadriye, yeah, it's a long one. I'm so sorry. What about the third one, Kadriye? Second one, sorry. It's a long part.
I don't know, teacher.
Thereby. and reversing biological age-taking people who are already 60 years old. Okay, I think you read the sentences. Thank you very much, Kadriye. Number 3. Number 4, Bumi.
Okay. The geriatrics approach
In Turkish we use in English geriatrics. Turkish geriatri. Türkçe'de geriatri diyor. In English. Yes, the geriatrics approach
is an attempt to treat the diseases of old age, just like infection, to eliminate them from the body by attacking the symptoms directly.
Yes, eliminate them. Eliminate. Eliminate. Thank you. Attempt to treat the diseases of old age, just like infections, to eliminate them from the body by attacking symptoms directly. Thank you very much. Bu mean Sıla İzzet'in İrem 5. İrem.
Aging is the result of death of cells which are not compensated by the division of other cells, and stem cell therapy is an answer to this. It is about replacing cells that the body is not automatically replacing.
Thank you very much, İrem. Which are not compensated by the division of other cells. You know how human body works. Thank you. Compensated is the correct word here. İrem, thank you. Hadi Zeynep, 6.
Teacher, 1 minute, please. 6.
6.
It's a process that goes on throughout life, even starting before we are born, and it is simply the accumulation of damage in the body or in the body of any other living animal.
Yes, accumulation of damage in the body or in the body of any other living animal. Thank you very much. 6, accumulation. Zeynep, thank you. Hadi Kayra, 7.
There are only 7
damages. Major types of damage.
by
He has a problem with the internet, I think. Comprehensive, friends. Let me write it. Tamam, comprehensive. Tamam. Comprehensive, friends. That's the answer for number 7. He has problems with the internet. Kayra.
For a long time because the body is set up to tolerate a lot of damage, but it's not set up to tolerate an infinite amount of damage, and that's why eventually we get the diseases and disabilities of old age.
Infinite. Infinitive is different. Infinitive deyince to infinitive. Infinite. Thank you. Okay. Infinite. Thank you. Gökçe. Hadi Melih. Number 9. Melih.
Okay. The experiment on mice showed.
Alo, hocam.
Tamam Kayra. Okay.
Tamam.
Tamam. I wrote the answer, Kayra. Tamam. You can listen to your friend. Melih, 9.
The experiment done on mice showed how to get rid of the death resistance and which didn't die.
Melih.
Okay.
Resistant, friends, 9 resistant. And let's, okay, interfere is the correct option. Friends, these are the collocations. Friends, number 1, eliminate a risk. Eliminate. Eliminate a risk, eliminate a problem, eliminate a need. Okay. Number 7, slow accumulation of facts. It's a steady accumulation of data, massive accumulation of evidence, accumulation.
Noun.
Next one. Sorry?
Noun. Is it noun?
Noun. It's a noun. Next one, reverse. In other words, tersine çevirmek gibi. Reverse racism, reverse inflation, reverse manipulate. Manipulate a process, manipulate a decline, delicately compensate, sorry, şurada şey olacak, manipulate, compensate, yo, bir saniye, just a second. Sorry arkadaşlar. Bir şey, there is a problem. Reverse racism. I'm so sorry. I made a mistake. The combat'i atladım. Combat. Fight with racism. Reverse. But manipulate the trend, it is also correct. I made a mistake. Could you please check it? Combat, in other words, fight with racism, combat inflation, combat crime, reverse a trend or manipulate a trend, it makes sense, but reverse a process, reverse a decline. Sorry. Manipulate data, manipulate people, manipulate organisms, compensate for lack of something, compensate for the loss of something. What does compensate mean? Compensate? Thank you. Feasibility of the project, feasibility of an idea, feasibility. Can study later. Feasibility is the noun form. Compensate verb. Manipulate in a verb. Reverse, the others are okay. Me. There are lots of details. Adjective. Infinite, we talked about it. Prompting infinite variety of something, infinite something, resistant. Adjective again, resistant to change, resistant to antibiotics, resistant to corrosion. And the last one, interfere. By the way, collocation, and interfere with somebody's work, interfere with somebody's life. You can use these adverbs before these.
Karışmak.
Yes. This part is very, very important, but you can study later. Okay. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time. You can take notes and you can study later.
Teacher, I think we don't have enough time to take notes and answer the questions and check the questions.
Yeah, exactly. We have time to headings. These are the headings: an introduction, definition of aging, common reactions to aging, regenerative medicine. We will learn more details. Gerontology and geriatric, the similarity between aging and cancer olacak o arkadaşlar. Sorry. Cancer olması lazım. Just a second. Aging cancer, accumulating damages due to aging and conclusion. Okay, these are the headings. Are you ready? You can use a problem. You can take notes. Is everyone ready? Shall we start? Okay, let's start.
Pre-faculty immortality theme. Listening to Undoing Aging. Let me start with a question. Please raise your hand if you want to get Alzheimer's disease. Please raise your hand if you think that you will want to get Alzheimer's disease at the age of 90. Even better. The first thing I want to explain to you is the relationship between the diseases of old age, things like Alzheimer's and aging. Essentially, what I want to tell you is that you should not really pay attention to anybody who uses the word aging without really explaining what they mean. Because, well, they almost certainly don't know what they mean. It's an extraordinarily poorly used word. People can say the most ridiculous things when they think they understand what aging really means. I'm going to tell you what I mean by aging, and that's going to be the basis for everything else I say today. Aging is a process that goes on throughout life, even starting before we're born, and it is simply the accumulation of damage in the body or in the body of any other living animal. Now, aging is initially harmless. That's why, for example, those of you who are 40 years old are still working pretty much as well as those of you who are only 25 years old. But aging eventually overwhelms the normal operation of the human body, and that's why we get the diseases and disabilities of old age that we have. And they're really bad for us. It is very controversial to say that I am working on the world's most important problem, but I really am. And this is why aging kills 100,000 people every day. That's twice as many as all other causes of death added together. 2/3 of all deaths are from aging. And in the industrialized world, it's 90% of all death. It's an insane number. And of course, it's not just the death. It's the suffering that goes before the death. That's why when I mentioned Alzheimer's disease, I didn't say who wants to die. I didn't say who wants to die at the age of 90, because you might be confused, as a lot of people do, and I'm going to come to that in a moment. But none of you want to get Alzheimer's disease, even at the age of 90. Ultimately, it's all about this. It's all about health, looking, feeling, and functioning just as well as you did when you were 25, however long ago you were born. But still, people have some concerns. You know, first of all, they just don't listen. They think that elimination of aging is all about being in a bad state of health for a very long time. They think that the elimination of aging is a bad idea because they can't work out what they would do, or they can't work out where we would put all the people, or they don't think that it's going to come along in time for them. And of course, they don't care about their children. I mean, they don't care about the next generations at all. So I think it's all about this. I think it's that aging is so horrible, so scary, succeed in tricking ourselves into the idea that aging is a good thing, even though it doesn't look like a good thing. That made perfect sense for a long time. It was a rational thing to do until very recently, because until very recently, nobody had any idea what to do about aging. But now we do. Now we're within a reasonable distance, within striking distance of developing medicine that really brings aging under the same level of medical control that we have already today for most infectious diseases like tuberculosis or whatever. It's like this. And that's why I have to give these talks about why it's so important to do this. But of course, in order for me to make any kind of case for this, I have to show you that this part over here, that aging is inevitable, really is no longer true. And that's what I'm going to do for the rest of my time. The way that my organization sends, let me spell it for you, SENS, Research Foundation, is going about combating aging or developing medicine that will combat aging, is we are developing regenerative medicine for aging. We're interested in not just slowing aging down, slowing down the accumulation of damage in the body, and thereby delaying the age at which we get sick. We're interested in actually repairing that damage, reversing biological age, taking people who are already 60 years old and making them biologically 30 again. That might seem as though it's far harder than just slowing aging down, and indeed most people who studied biological aging made that assumption. But a decade or so ago, I realized that the assumption is wrong, that assumption is wrong, and that actually repairing the damage of aging is likely to be much easier than stopping it from happening in the first place. And the way I realized that was essentially by looking at the details. Regenerative medicine is all about restoring the structure of the body, whether it is at the level of the whole organ by replacing an organ with an artificial one, or at the cellular level using stem cell therapy, or even at the molecular level, repairing the insides of the cells, for example. Aging is all about the accumulation of damage, and damage happens at all of those levels. We have to think about molecular and cellular and whole body damage when we think about aging. And as I explained a moment ago, aging is initially harmless. It's harmless for a long time because the body is set up to tolerate a lot of damage. But it's not set up to tolerate an infinite amount of damage. And that's why eventually we get the diseases and disabilities of old age. Now, the reason why that definition of aging is useful can be explained with the help of two approaches. These two approaches that I'm describing here, the gerontology approach and the geriatrics approach, well, these are ways of potentially combating aging, postponing the ill health of old age. And they've both been around for a very long time, and neither of them worked. And neither of them ever will work. I mean, they won't work for a very long time anyway. The geriatrics approach aims at completely eliminating aging from the body. And that's why it's obviously hopeless, because aging is a side effect of being alive in the first place. I mean, you can't eliminate it from the body. On the other hand, the gerontology approach says, let's try to slow down the creation of damage so that it doesn't get to this bad level until a later age. But here's the problem with that. We just don't understand the body very well. The real problem is that there is only a small subset of what we know about how metabolism works, right? Any biologist will tell you that we are completely overwhelmed by the astronomical amount that we don't know about how metabolism works. They learn all the stuff that we don't even know that we don't know. So, you know there is no way we are going to make this work. But luckily, there is this third approach. This is the regenerative medicine approach. We can also call it the maintenance approach. Essentially, what this is, we say, let's not try to interfere with the process where metabolism creates damage, or the process where damage eventually causes the diseases and disabilities of old age. So, what causes the diseases and disabilities of old age? For sure, it is the damage. But here's the really good news. The great thing about damage is that it's not very complicated, because there are only 7 major types of damage that we need to fix. 7 major types of side effects of the body's normal operation that build up throughout life and eventually contribute to the diseases and disabilities of old age. And there's even a list of them. We can be pretty confident that this list is comprehensive. The reason we can be confident is twofold. First of all, it's been the same list for 30 years. All of these things have been talked about for at least 30 years and researched by people who study the biology of aging. So, you know, we've come a very long way in biology. And in that time, you would really have thought that the list would have gotten longer if it could have. Even better than this, we have a fair idea of how to go about actually fixing all of these things. The reason this classification of damage is useful is because for each category, we can describe a different therapy that can be used for each of the types of damage to implement the maintenance approach to get rid of these types of damage. We can start with cell loss, which is the death of cells and not compensated by the division of other cells. And stem cell therapy, of course, is exactly being used to fix the existing problem. Stem cell therapy is about replacing cells that the body is not automatically replacing. If we go down this list, we can see the same sort of thing. Let's just now talk about a couple of them in detail. First of all, everybody knows that cancer is a major cause of death. Cancer is something that is essentially defined as having too many cells because cells are dividing when they are not supposed to, unlike aging in which cell division does not take place. So, aging is another way of having too many cells, since cells are not dying when they are supposed to. Most people who don't study aging forget about that because it's not very high profile. But it turns out it is really important in aging. It's the main reason why we have less good immune systems when we're older. And we're actually getting somewhere in fixing this. The work I'm describing here is not done by my organization, but done by other people. It's very much within the theme of what we work on. Essentially, this was an experiment done in mice just very recently in which they showed how to get rid of these death-resistant cells which wouldn't die when they were supposed to, and which would essentially be poisoning the rest of the body. It was a rather artificial experiment with mice that had been genetically modified so with only a proof of concept, it doesn't really show us how to develop drugs for humans yet. But it would be a really good proof of concept. The 2 mice are the same age, and the first mouse is much happier than the other mouse. The second mouse, however, is about to die, a month away from dying. But the first mouse is completely healthy. It's just as healthy as a normal mouse that doesn't have the problem of these accumulating cells. There is even a graph which shows one of the dozens of different experiments that these people did to find out the biological age of these mice. So this was fantastic. Here, however, is some more early stage work which is looking at one of the other of these 7 components. The accumulation of molecular garbage inside the cell. This turns out to be incredibly important in some of the most major age-related diseases, cardiovascular disease, the number one killer in the Western world. So I'm going to stop there to remind you this is what it's all about. Stopping you from getting an old person. And this is what I want to leave you with. It's just not me here. I'm a biologist. I can get this work done when I can, but ultimately it's all about public support for all of this. The reason I give so many talks like this, the reason I give so many interviews, the reason that this movement needs to grow is because without public support, not just public financial support, but also government support, commercial support, we are not going to get this to happen very soon. We need everybody to go out there and advocate, to talk to your friends, talk to your family, and talk to your colleagues about how this is the world's most important problem, and people are genuinely working to solve it. Thank you very much.
Together, these are the answers. Büyüteyim arkadaşlar. It will be easy for you. 1C,
2D,
2D, definitely. 3, you can come up with different answers for number 3. It's an open-ended question and there might be different answers. And all other causes of death, even a combination of all of them, end up with as half many deaths as the ones caused by aging. Or lots of old people die, and we can accept it. Lots of old people die because of aging. And I can accept all the answers here. 4C, possible international conflicts regarding the shortage of natural resources. 5A, to repair the damage in the body at all levels to reverse the biological age. 6D, definitely this is not a reason. The approaches didn't receive adequate approval. This is not the correct reason. 7A, there are only 7 major types of damage to repair. The speaker emphasized this part. 8C, let me check the question. Both of them are about having too many cells. The last part of the lecture was about the cells. 9A, to show how to get rid of death-resistant cells. 10B, optimistic, the speaker is optimistic because the happier mouse has a longer life. And 11, CVD or cardiovascular disease, we can accept CVD, cardiovascular disease. And the last one, main purpose of the lecture, raise awareness and gain collective support to solve the problem of aging. Okay. If you have any questions, I can show you the tape script right now. We can analyze the tape script all together if you want. How many correct answers, Ezgi?
No.
Okay. What about the